would you like to heal your brain holistically? Dr. Sarah Young will tell us how. And what's so special about Dr. Sarah is that she is a medical speech language pathologist, integrative medicine doctor, and founder of Neurosynergy Integrative Health, where she helps sensitive, overwhelmed adults with invisible health challenges restore clarity, energy, and balance through a multidimensional healing approach that blends neuroscience and soulful care. So, Dr. Sarah, please tell us more about how can someone heal their brain holistically, and what kind of conditions are we talking?
Heal Podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever. Shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
Well, I think it's important to first start with the foundation of just taking good care of ourselves, regardless of what conditions we have, right? So eating healthy food, including omega-3s, making sure you're hydrated. So the Mayo Clinic recommends for women to get 11 and a half cups of water per day. Lily, did you get that today or yesterday? Did you drink 11 and a half? Right. Exactly. So we have a lot of people that aren't actually giving their brain the right fuel to work properly. So just from the general population point of view, giving your body the right nutrients, the right hydration, the right movement, and avoiding toxic things that are in your environment, that are in your foods, that might be in processed foods. Could be in lotions. It could be in the makeup you're using. So becoming more aware of what you're putting in your body. My journey, Lily, has been with traumatic brain injury. So my story is that I had multiple brain injuries, and my last TBI was in 2019. And I had a very hard time with being able to speak, being able to remember, being able to comprehend and process information. Essentially, the outlook wasn't really good for me, and I wanted to find, is there another way to help heal my brain? And so I enrolled in a doctoral program in integrative medicine with Quantum University. And they're heavily consciousness-based medicine, a lot of quantum physics. There's a lot of neuroscience, energy work. And when I healed my own brain, I found that it wasn't just one thing, but it was looking at healing the brain from not only a physical point of view, right? That's how we think of the brain as a solid mass, but really that brain is responsible for all the things that we do. It makes up 2% of your body weight and uses 20% of your energy stores. So it's really important that we take really good care of it. After brain injury, individuals with TBI need 40% more calories than they did before the accident or injury. So brain injury, acquired brain injury, it could be toxic exposure to chemicals. It could be a stroke is a type of acquired brain injury, whereas traumatic brain injury is more related to something that has come from outside and damaged the brain, right? So acquired can encapsulate both of those. So when I was healing from my brain injury, and as I learned in my PhD program, there's a lot of nutritional medicine that people can use to guide them in their recovery, making sure that you rest enough, and even more importantly, addressing the emotional sides of brain injury, the mindset of your recovery, embracing things like neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity, Lily, it means that we have the ability with persistence and consistent effort to reshape the way our brains work, right? So some really interesting studies out of neuroscience, when damage occurs on one area of the brain, other parts of the brain start to take over those functions. And when you're recovering from any kind of brain injury, you're going through a pattern of like remaking yourself. And what you put your intention and energy behind will become what your trajectory looks like. So you can always improve your brain by doing more movement, learning new things, learning a musical instrument, learning a new language. So I believe it's important to keep the brain healthy and vibrant at any age, regardless of whether or not you've had an acquired brain injury.
Thank you. So, for example, I think that a lot of people over 60 perhaps worry about getting Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, especially if they've had that condition in their family. And I'm wondering whether there is any specific routines you recommend for someone who is currently not suffering from anything, but would like to perhaps prevent becoming, getting what do you call it? Not neurodivergent, getting
Neurodegenerative diagnosis?
yes, a neurodegenerative diagnosis.
I love that question. So there's so much that we can do. So one of the number one things that I want you to know is that your body includes something called a glymphatic system. And that it consists of the fluid around your brain and in your spinal cord. And there's a process in which when you sleep, when you get good deep sleep and you get REM sleep, okay, you recharge, and that fluid circulates and it cleans and it regenerates. It literally regenerates your brain and your body. So in this society that we live, sleep deprivation is everywhere. It's a real thing. There's a lot of people that aren't getting enough sleep. Your body was designed to work with the rising of the sun and the setting of the sun. And your brain actually creates neurochemistry to support the setting of the sun and the waking of your brain and your body. And when the moon comes and it's dark, your brain releases melatonin, which helps you have a restful sleep. So honoring the circadian rhythms of your body, honoring those times of when to wake and when to rest. And in the evening, consider that the lights that we have in our home, okay, and blue lights from our phones, those lights send a signal to our brains that say, stay awake. It's time to be lively. And really, in the evening, it's better for us to put those lights away, to really set ourselves up for an evening with the lights turned down. Red light is actually best for helping you to get into that really good rest mode. Having a bedtime routine. So practicing diaphragmatic breathing, in which you breathe in deeply through your belly and out slowly through your belly. Those type of exercises help to get your nervous system in a place to help you to rest. Other things that I would recommend, Lily, are keep your brain active and keep your body active. Our bodies and our brains are designed to be moving things, right? Always in movement. So the more you find yourself sitting down or watching television, the less your blood is pumping through your body, all the blood to your brain, to your organs, right? So keep yourself moving. High cholesterol is associated with dementia, and that's something we can do something about, because if you watch what you eat, avoid fried food, avoid fatty foods, right? Because things that clog up your arteries clog up your veins, and things that clog up your veins clog up your brain. So keeping your body moving and keep your heat going, okay? So the American Heart Association recommends 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise, and that means like huffing and puffing, okay? And each week, So you can break that up however works for you in your schedule. You could do it over multiple times per day or several chunks per week. But I like to evaluate those parameters. So being aware of yourself, how am I supporting my body today? How am I supporting my brain today? So the New York Times has some great cognitive games. There's Wordle and Strands. There's a lot of games, but the idea is you want to challenge yourself. So don't play solitaire all day and think that's really good brain workout, because that's really more monotonous, and you want to keep variety in the things that you're doing to keep your brain young. So anyone that's worried about that type of diagnosis, I would recommend really good sleep, really good nutrition and hydration, keep your body moving, and keep your mind learning.
Thank you. For people that, let's say, already have Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, or they're kind of like heading in that direction, is there any hope for them in terms of, let's say, if they start implementing the techniques that you mentioned about resting more and reducing cholesterol, and perhaps, I know, getting in some sauna or some other activities like that? Is there any hope for them in terms of like reversing, brain conditions?
That's a really great question, and I would love to refer anyone that wants a really good deep dive on that to Reversing Alzheimer's. Is a book written by a naturopathic doctor, and her research is very specific to Alzheimer's. And she has dietary recommendations. I believe she also includes recommending intermittent fasting and certain types to clear the brain out. Make sure your circadian rhythm. So if you have that diagnosis, it's not going to be neurosupportive to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Because that's not supporting the rhythm of your body and of your brain. So really honoring those rhythms. For all of my clients that I have that either have Alzheimer's and dementia, or they're worried about Alzheimer's and dementia, I do recommend something called 20-minute blocks. So in those 20 minutes, you want the activities that you choose to be difficult but doable. So not so hard that you want to yank your hair out, but also not so easy that you could do it without a second thought, right? So dedicate 20 minutes of your time 3 times a day to that. And I'll tell you, for myself, my last brain injury was 6 years ago, and I currently work 2 jobs, and I still to this day do all 3 20-minute blocks. My 20-minute blocks are always changing. And you might say, why are you still doing them? Well, if you've ever had a car accident or a concussion or a brain injury or something like that, or a stroke, your risk for developing Alzheimer's and dementia actually goes up pretty significantly. But you can look at that as empowering, because that's a really good time to start implementing the things that we're talking about right now that help the brain to be healthy.
Thank you. So would you say, for example, like my current routine is very bad. So I'm eating very fatty food, and I eat lots of sweets, and occasionally I drink like Coca-Cola and Fanta. And also, I go to bed at 4 in the morning with this kind of routine. It sounds like it's exactly the kind of routine that is completely the opposite of what you recommend for someone to prevent Alzheimer's and all of the neurodegenerative conditions. Are there any other toxic habits most people have that are conducive to leading towards a neurodegenerative condition or brain condition?
That's a really good question. So some of the things that affect brain health are high cholesterol, as you mentioned, high blood sugar, which catches up to you the older that you get, right? So a lot of people think that Alzheimer's is a side effect of the population having too much sugar. If you look at all the foods at your neighborhood grocery store and you look at the percentage of sugars that we are consuming every day, it's astronomical. And too much sugar is damaging to the brain and the other organs as well. And so is, smoking cigarettes. There's a little bit of evidence coming forward that using nicotine with a very subset population of people that might have Parkinson's or dementia, they have a little bit of improvement with their cognition with the use of the memory patches on specific testing, but it doesn't carry over into saying that the use of tobacco heals the brain or is good for the brain. So we've got to be really careful. There's so much research that's coming out and coming forward, and it's so important to be well informed. But also, if you live in a big city, Lily, and there's a lot of industrial smoke, or living in places that have a lot of EMFs that negatively affect you, is not going to be helpful overall. I wouldn't go so far as to say that we know already that all these EMFs create this, right? I don't think we know enough about things yet to truly say that. But we do know that a lot of power lines and things do affect the brain. So they make some things called Defender that you can put over your cell phone so that the EMFs, it kind of blocks them out from kind of getting at you. So shielding yourself, another way to do that when you sleep at night, don't sleep next to your phone. Most of us want to sleep next to our phone. We want to check our messages, or we want to use it for an alarm clock, but it's really not good for all those 5G and cellular signals to be coming right close to our brains all through the night when we sleep. It's really better for your energy system to power those things off, put them in a separate room if you can, have an alternative plan. Alcohol is known to change the gut microbiome, which directly also affects the brain. It dehydrates the brain. There's a lot of things that are toxic. To your first question, the first thing you said, I think you still have a lot of hope there, right, Lily? Because it really starts with awareness. So now that it's coming into your attention, like, oh, these things might not be the healthiest thing for me long term. That's the first step, right? And that every moment gives you a new opportunity to make a new choice. And so your futures always starts now.
Thank you. I just really struggle to sleep. Do you have any tips for someone who struggles to sleep? Because let's say I want to go to bed at 12 or 10 or 11, but I just can't.
What happens with you what's happening when you're in bed and you're trying to go to sleep? What time, Lily, are you really being disciplined and saying, I'm putting my body in the bed with the purpose of going to sleep?
I find that, let's say sometimes I'm actually tired between 11 and 12. But then when I do that, let's say I go to sleep and then I wake up at 1:30, and then I'm thinking, okay, there's no point to actually do that every night. Kind of just sleep for 2 hours and wake up as if it's morning. And then not be able to sleep until 6 then, it's better to just sleep a little bit later, 2 or 4. And then I find that also I'm quite addicted to TikTok. So I find that let's say I go to bed and then I find that I'm thinking about, oh, let me check this or let me check that. So it's I'm just mouse on a wheel.
Lily, I think it's going to be really important for you to come up with some guidelines with your body about your health routine. This is something I myself had to do. I had to retrain my circadian rhythms. I feel like you just were saying the same things that I was saying when I had the same problem you're describing. And I started to do some meditation, some visualization, some breathing exercises, do some light stretching before bed, a hot bath with Epsom salts and lavender essential oil in the water, and turn down the lights and have the dedicated time with no screens. I really recommend for you to come up with a doable guideline. Okay. So we never want to be like, hey, body, we're doing everything wrong. I'm going to take all the things away you love, because then our body doesn't trust us. So we don't want to take the rug out from under the feet, but we do want to say, what would be a doable time that we can come up with a really nice, cozy routine, right? And get the buy-in from your body. So maybe like, all right, I'll have everything done by 10. There's no screens from 10 until 6 a.m. I'm allowed to touch my screen unless it's a medical emergency with a family member. From 10 to 6, no screens for me. At 9, I'm going to make a hot bubble bath with all your favorite smells. Maybe that's jasmine, maybe that's lavender. Have a nice cup of tea. So there's a lot of herbal teas that support you becoming more sleepy. There's chamomile and lavender, passion flower, kava kava. There's so many really nervine type teas that can help you to become more relaxed. If you feel it's worth trying, there's over-the-counter melatonin. I wouldn't do any more than 3 milligrams. It's not necessary to flood your body with a whole lot of that stuff. Your body makes it naturally, but it can help to kickstart that circadian rhythm reset that we're talking about. And Lily, when you get up in the morning, when 6 o'clock, hopefully, right, comes around, make your eyes get in touch with that sunlight. Give yourself the first 15 minutes in your body after sleep to just feel your breath, feel your body. Because what do we really do mostly now, right? We all grab our cell phone and then we start scrolling the minute we wake up, right? So I want you to try to like breathe and like stretch your arms out and really just love yourself. Do a little bit of stretching. Put your feet on bare ground if you can. That helps to ground you and get you in contact with the earth. So the earth has a specific frequency that resonates with our bodies. And over time, we use a lot more rubber shoes and rubber tires, and we don't really have as much contact with the earth. But having more contact with the earth helps your energy system to be a little bit more imbalanced if you didn't have access to something like pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. So there are things that can mimic that Schumann frequency of the earth as well.
Thank you. Tell us what kind of strategies worked for you to recover your brain health?
So I overhauled probably all the parts of my life. I had to become very disciplined with my sleeping. So I have a world I kind of created in my imagination, because my rule was you're going to be in bed from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. unless you need to go to the bathroom. And inside of me, I said, I don't want to. And it's like, well, you're going to. And inside of me said, well, I'm not tired. I said, well, that's okay. We're going to meditate for a while. We can meditate until 6, and then we'll get up and we'll move on with our day. And so inside of myself is kind of where I would go when I wouldn't be able to sleep. And I created a whole world in there, almost like your own dream world. But I get in bed at a certain time and I get up at a certain time. I now eat a lot more fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, because all of those fresh perishable items have nutrients and minerals and amino acids that support your brain being healthy and vibrant. And many people have a lot of processed foods and they're lacking magnesium, they're lacking vitamin D, they're lacking a lot of things. So make sure that you keep your levels checked. If you don't have a provider that periodically looks at your blood work and lets you know kind of where you're at, I think it's really helpful to be your own advocate, be aware of where your body's at. And I really feel like we're always in process, right? So for me, it's never like I'm healed now and it's all done. It's like every day I wake up and I think, how are we going to heal a little more today? How can we make things a little better? And maybe it's something really small, like I'm going to take a sip every hour because I'm with clients all day long. And when I'm working with clients, I'm very tunnel vision. I'm very focused on them, and I forget to eat. I forget to drink. I forget to do all the other things sometimes. So a goal for me last week was I'm going to bring a water bottle and I'm just going to sip every hour. I'm going to have a couple sips. And hey, that's one step closer to being more hydrated, right? So always looking at what we're doing and seeing how can I support my health better? How can I support my brain better? And I do my 20-minute blocks as well. I think my PhD program, having to review class information over and over and over because the memory struggle was so hard. I actually had to review it multiple times. But I only tell you that because be persistent, right? Don't give up. If you don't get it the first time, if you don't meet the goal you set, there's another opportunity tomorrow. You can try again. You can try now.
Thank you. Do you find that actually drinking water really makes that big of a difference?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, you're made of overall about 70% water. Your brain is 73% water. And your lungs and your heart, they're hugely water. And here's the kicker. Just you sitting there breathing right now, you're losing water on your breath out. We lose water when we breathe. We lose water when we pee. We lose water when we defecate or poop. We lose water when we cry. We lose water when we sweat. And the biggest one that amazes me is that we lose water when we breathe. So we're constantly losing water. So the thing about water is because you're constantly losing it, you have to constantly be replenishing it. And when you don't replenish the water in your body, your cells, they start to shrink and shrivel, and they will cause headaches. They'll cause dry mouth, fatigue. It'll drop your blood pressure if you're not hydrated enough. And if your blood pressure's low because you're not hydrated, that will make you dizzy. It can make you weak. You can have a fall, which causes you to possibly break a hip, hit your head, lots of things, right? So absolutely 100%, I think everyone on this planet can always work on drinking more water.
Say there's anything that made like a bigger difference from all the different measures that you took for your brain health?
I would say my non-negotiable is the sleep, is making, to this day, I am extremely disciplined with my sleep. All the things that I recommended, I myself do. I don't do screens after a certain point. My lights go red in the evening. And I have an evening routine where I do light stretching and breathing and brainwave entrainment. And I lay in bed until it's time to get up. And I do morning practices. I do grounding, breathing, letting the sun hit my eyes. And I do these diligently. And they are the priority. I'm gonna suggest that instead of making everything else the priority, the clients, the business, the work, the kids, I really just want to say, you've got to fill your own cup first, because you can only give from the overflow and you can't give from an empty cup. So prioritize yourself.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you.
I can be found at neurosynergyhealth.com, neurosynergyhealth.com. And of course, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the things.
Follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health changemakers to live your healthiest life ever.